Hello and welcome to After Effects Tech Desk. Today I want to talk about making this carousel rotation and how to have the elements be parented but also stay right side up no matter which way they're facing. This is a more useful tool than just creating a Ferris wheel. You might not need to create a Ferris wheel very often. You could use it for something like logo spinning. You don't need those spokes on. You can kind of see how that might be something a little bit more useful. So let's dig into this. I think there's a couple of good tricks in here that we can see as we build. So I'm gonna go ahead and just rebuild this carousel first. So I'm just gonna make a new comp. It's still got my settings from the earlier, so just make it 1080p. We'll call this carousel build. All right, so first, let's just build the frame of it. And the first thing I want to show is how to build those legs. And this is kind of one of my favorite tools. I'll hit comma. It's not the comma, it's the apostrophe. Bring up my guides there. And I don't want to fill on this, I just want to stroke. Just keep it that color. And what I'm going to do is click and just make our leg. And if I twirl that down, we'll get our stroke. And I like to just twirl that up and down to get that, make that a round. I think there was an extra path in here or something. Is that what happened? I think I doubled. Yeah. All right, so we got that there. Now you could just duplicate the path. What I actually like to do is I like to use the repeater for something like this and make two copies. Here, let's make a little more room there. And then in my transform repeater, I'm going to make the position 0. I'm going to make the scale negative. And now you can see that we have this nice symmetrical, simple shape. If we went in here and we wanted to make this a little bit more exaggerated, you just move it and it'll do the same. Probably think of some other uses for that too. Let's see. One other thing that you might want to do is, I thought that if you move this out, it's also nice and symmetrical to the side. So I think we might have had that like that. We'll make a new circle. This is going to have a fill, no stroke. And I'm just going to click from the center. And I hold Control and Alt to get it out like that. I hit U again to get my size there. Another thing you could do is just double click this and that will fit the size of it. And from here then you can just type in whatever you want. I often just type in 500 and do that. So let's say there's our legs. Gonna do that same thing, except first I'm gonna hit Q to do that. Give it a stroke again. Do that same thing. And now we've got We'll shrink that down. Yeah, okay, so that's basically what I was doing here. We can kind of play with the size of that. That's not critical. That's close enough to get us going. Okay, so next we probably want to create the chair. I already have one prepared. Oops. I already have one prepared here. If I solo that, you can see it's pretty simple. And this is actually just a couple of square shapes with trim paths. So I'm just using trim paths to create that. Same for the front handle. And this was nice because you could kind of change that up if you wanted. If you wanted to make it a little bit taller, you can just control it with that. If you wanted to make the seat a little bit taller, in the same way, you could just do that. And if you liked where everything else is, that's where you twirl this down and go to position. Maybe just position that up. All right, now inside here, I believe in the main one, I have two different chairs possibly. Is that it? No, but you could make doubles and swap them out pretty easily. So back in our build, how now are we going to place these around? If you've been here a couple times, you know I love nulls, so we're just going to make a null in the middle. Now wherever we put this, if we rotate that around, it's at least attached, but obviously it's not facing the right way as it goes around. So what we need to do is this rotates that much, we need to rotate it the opposite. So you could just pick whip it to that rotation and then multiply it by -1. And that will do what you need to. Of course, you want to probably change the anchor point to wherever that's supposed to pivot. It's pretty easily right on top of there now. If you wanted this to be a little bit more flexible, my new preferred method is to just say, instead of this layer dot transform, you could just put parent. And then whatever this is attached to, let's say we had this one attached to this null. Now theoretically you could have both of these going at different speeds if you needed. And maybe you want to do something like that for an orbital solar system or something like that. Anyways, back to this one. We'll reparent that, and you can see, oop, that's a good lesson. I deleted that. You can see it now. There's an error. We can hit that magnifying glass to go see it. If we hover over that, expression disabled, error at line 59 in property rotation of layer 2. Okay, so we could go to layer 2, it's line 59, layer has no parent, can't use parent. Boom, done. Okay, so all we really need to do then is duplicate these around, and you have your carousel set up. The only thing is this is not very even. I also think that this is a little bit too big still. So I'm going to go back to where we were with that before. And now that's fitting a little bit better. And if we look back at here, you see I have these spokes also. So I created a set of spokes as a reference, and then I just line that up. I ended up offsetting the visible ones because I thought it looked a little bit better. And I think if you look at a real carousel, there's actually a couple of sets. There's even another ring in here, I believe. So just real quick, it would look, I think, more like that. Something like that. So just to show you how I did that, for that I'm using the star tool. And again, I'm going to double click it so it's right in the center. And if I'm going to select all these. Actually, here's another trick. Select this, right click, invert selection. If I toggle the switches, bring up the shy, and then shy all those layers, I have just what my reference. So now in this polystar path, this is a star shape. You have this inner radius and outer radius setting. The outer is those points, and the inner is those ones. So we're going to make this inner 0. And now you have these spokes. And you can repeat them as much as you need. Put in however many chairs you want. And unfortunately, there's not a good cloner in After Effects, but this will work as a guide. And if you just click, and you can use, we'll say every other one maybe. That might be kind of realistic. Again, you probably want to look at reference of actual Ferris wheels, and even if you're doing kind of a clean vector style like this. And then, hopefully you guessed right and there's the right number of spacing. Okay, so there's our reference. Our outer path, that's obviously too far, so we can just bring that in. We'll attach that to our null, our rotation null. Let's name that, so that's and we'll probably want to play with the layers order of that. But that is basically, here, I'll make this loop. Let that load. Taking a little bit while. Okay. Anyways, this should all be, if you added one more null, master, and you attach the rotation null to that, and then all your other layers to that, you'll be able to position this. You could grab all these. You could either, if you needed to, you could scale them all. You could also go in there. Just going to reset that. And then to show you this other, how the icon one works, it's basically just swapping out those and removing these elements. So we'll go to our carousel build. Call this the icons build. And the way I had pictured this is that you have different logos kind of rotating around. It seems like every corporate video always has some need to show partnerships between various entities and all, circling around the same kind of, if you call that the same target, the same goal. then you've got this nice sort of thing. So that's basically, if we take this, I mean, really we're just gonna remove all those. And if you have, you know, you can just duplicate this, rename it the logo. I'll call it logo 4 since I already have it. And how about, you know, this one, we'll put in trim paths here. We'll turn that off. Hit it there. There's another logo. All right, now we're back to our carousel build. Remove the spokes. And now, again, well, we might want our reference spokes. I should have named these, but I'm trying to get through this a little bit quickly. So if we go in, how many logos we got? Let's say we got 3. Same deal. I can either just click and hold Alt and drag right onto this. You might need to adjust your anchor point, and if you just look at the size of that up here, you can see that halfway between will be 250, 250. Now it's centered. And I think I'll actually probably, or I'll show you the other way to swap that is hold Control Alt and then the backslash, same as the question mark key, and that just swaps it. Same deal with that. So that's why I'm going to duplicate that instead of swapping these ones. And the great thing about doing this way is if you need to add or swap a logo later and they say, actually, you know what, we're going to use a MasterCard instead of this. I didn't say MasterCard, I said some other thing. It still works. And you also have individual control to do things. So if you wanted to, as it's spinning around, and let's say 50. We'll set those to 50. We'll set those to 50. You can still have individual control, and you might even be able to time this so that it's like it's going through a field of some kind. All right, so that seems like a pretty good place to end. If you had any questions, please put them in the comments. I'll try to answer those for you as fast as I can. You can download the file from my Gumroad shop. The link to that is in the description. You can download the file for free there. Feel free to follow along with that or use that in your own projects. If you found this useful, please think about subscribing to the channel. Plan to be posting more tips and workflows like this, and I'm always looking for new ideas for topics to cover, so share those if you have anything in particular you have questions about or want After Effects Tech Desk to look at. All right, thanks so much. See you next time.